Hello everyone, so we are in the fourth episode of our course, and this episode is devoted to our business models, and the exact name is the existing and the new service business models. So let us get started. Just a short overview, let's say for those who have not watched the previous episode, who have watched them so quite long time ago. Basically, as you remember, we covered already the following topics in the course. We covered the B2B market and the relationships, industrial relationships. We covered the service, the nature of service, how does the let's say service science has developed, what are the models, what can describe the service interaction between provider and customer. We have topics around marketing and the industrial marketing and the service marketing and also about sales. Yeah, and then we had a nice interview, let's say, connecting together. There is three topics, so sales of industrial services. And today our plan is to have a closer look at the business models. And business models not just like generically, yeah, but the service business models in B2B. Yeah, so how service providers can generate revenues and can generate profit in order to sustain business in an industrial service. Okay, so jumping directly into the first topic here, so we discussed it with some of the business projects already. What are the services, what are the industrial services, what Siemens is offering at the moment. Yeah, and here on one picture you can see basically almost all the topics where Siemens is active. Yeah, and you can see that everything starts from the support and consulting, basically a hotline or technical forum, let's say a web page with all the frequently asked questions, with all the manuals. So that's the support services. Then we are moving to spare parts. Uh, Also, I think quite clear, yeah. So something got broken, got damaged, whatever, you can order it as a spare part from Siemens. Then around support is also training services. So that's basically classroom trainings, how to maintain the equipment, how to operate the machine, how to program it. Yeah, or that can be also on-site trainings when you have a lot of people to be trained. Yeah, so that Siemens trainer can come on-site. Then we have a big block with the repair services. Yeah, so that's also from the classical things like repair shop repairs. Yeah, so when you bring something in, yeah, and you get with some malfunctions, and you get it back working, yeah, or if we are talking about the big machines that can be also on-site repair, yeah, basically that the engineer is coming first on-site, making the diagnostics, coming back, taking the spare parts, taking the tools, coming again to this on-site and making the repair. There is big portion of like this interesting field and maintenance services. Here we are talking about usually on-site topics. Yeah, so when the service engineer comes on site and does their regular works with the machine. Yeah, so we're talking about some preventive services, changing of the consumables, changing of filters, checking the error log, and so on. Yeah, or that can be that some of them, let's say, one format is that when the engineer is coming regularly. Another form is when something is broken, yeah, or the line doesn't work, you don't know what is the reason, so you call the engineer and then he's coming on site. Then let's say the three remaining topics are, in my opinion, most interesting, let's say, or most innovative ones. So basically retrofit and modernization. So when the customer wants to upgrade his machine. So he has a Siemens product, but this product is not supported anymore, or that can be that it's not produced anymore. So basically it's clear when it's get broken, you simply cannot buy a spare part. Yeah, so then there is a service. Okay, let us have a look. What is the machine? What is the product? Maybe we can upgrade it to an actual version of the product, yeah, or to some another similar product or whatever, yeah. So to be more to have more state of the art, let's say, automation system in our machine. Then there is a portion of a digital industry services. We have also a business project working on that. So that's basically data-driven services. Yeah. So when we say that, yeah, we have a cloud technology, we collect some data around the customer machine, we analyze this data, and we provide the customer with the insights in this data, or with some forecast or with some prognosis. So that's so-called predictive maintenance. Yeah. So the prediction about the machine status in future, that can be predictive quality, so prediction of the quality of an end product, and so on. So that's the whole bunch of these topics. And last but not least is this service programs and agreements. Yeah, so that's this big block on the right side, and that's let's say um, the the idea is, the Siemens idea here is to keep all these service elements as the puzzle parts. Yeah, so if the customer wants some training, some maintenance, regular maintenance, and also let's say prime support, yeah, so some kind of a privileged support, technical support, then we can bind it. We can bind it in one service offering bundle, yeah, so in a one service bundle, and sell it as a service program or in one agreement, yeah, so that makes it quite easy for the customer having only one contract and working with it. Um, as of business models, yeah, so all these services um, covered, yeah, so have a different business models in background. So basically, the Siemens is earning money in a different ways, yeah, with these services. And let me explain you a little bit more about that. Yeah, and we are starting with their like the most classical business model, I think, is their time and material, so T&M. And that's simple. Yeah, so basically the customer is paying exactly so much money, how many hours and how much material we have spent in order to render the service, in order to provide this service. Yeah, so that's basically, I like this comparison. Yeah, it's like a taxi ride. You are sitting inside the car, yeah, you're getting into the car, you know that the price is €2.50 per kilometer, yeah, and then if the car runs 10 kilometers, you pay €25. If the car drives you like 20 kilometers, you pay €50. So that's also time and material basis. It's quite clear. The time and material basis, normally that what you as a customer get, you get a price for some measurable unit, yeah, so an hour or a day or a week or whatever, yeah, so for one type of specialist, for example. And for the material, normally you get like a separate specification, which material will cost how much. And then sometimes there is a choice whether you purchase these materials on your own, yeah, and provide it to Siemens, that Siemens can do the service, or Siemens engineer um, buys it through the internal process, purchasing process of Siemens, and then brings it to the place of where the service happens. So clearly, time and material business model is the has the lowest risk for the service provider. Yeah, because in your hourly rate, let's say all your costs are covered. If some materials will be consumed, you are also covered. There is no risk. Yeah, but it's clear that for time and material is not an optimal business model for the customer, because as you all know the situation, you sit inside the car in the taxi and you do not really know how much money will cost your ride. Yeah, you will know it only at the end of the trip. And if you do not have a budget planned, let's say, for this activity, that can be quite risky. Yeah? So that can bring some internal problems, let's say, for you as for the customer. So normally the time and material basis is offered for services what are quite, let's say, simple, yeah, so simple in a sense of predictable, yeah, so the customer is doing it quite often, so he knows how much approximately it will cost, yeah. Or let's say time and material, it can be also offered for the like an urgent service, yeah, so when there's no time, yeah, so there's no possibility for service provider to estimate the total price, let's say to put some risk on top in the price and so on. Yeah, so then there is a time and material model offered, and then the customer decides go for it or wait, let's say. Yeah, so that's a sense of urgency. Exactly, and then as you can also maybe imagine that the time and material business model is used for the repair services. It's quite easy. So at the end of the repair, you are getting amount of hours what the engineer spent in order to disassemble, let's say, the part. Yeah, so make the diagnostics, define which module is broken or malfunction, then exchange these modules. That's already material, yeah, and then assembling the part back. So that's the time and the material for the exchanged parts. Yeah. That's a clearly repair, or field and maintenance services can be also done on time and material, as I mentioned, for the urgent cases, for example. Yeah, so when you're calling that you need engineer tomorrow, then you will get an answer. Okay, it costs 130 euro per hour, plus I don't know 80 euro for 1 hour on the way, yeah, and so on. So that's the classics, let's say. So the very simple and clear business model. Another classical business model as well is the lump sum. Yeah, so lump sum is basically when you are getting one price for the service. Yeah, and so this price is provided in the offer. Yeah, so you know it before you order. So you order some defined package. Yeah, so some limited scope of the services, then you get the price for that. So it's quite easy as well, yeah. And then for the service provider, there is always some risk, let's say, yeah. So if since you remember that the service is something what happens only in the interaction with the customer, so service is not something what is happening in your own factory. For you as a for service provider, there is always a risk that something will go in a wrong way during the service provision. Yeah, so that's why you always have to put some risk on top. So normally lump sum offers they're a little bit more expensive. Yeah, so but a lot of the B2B customers they're ready to pay this like 1, 2, 3% of risk on top just to know the final price at the very beginning of the service. Yeah, because then the whole commercial process of budgeting, of approval of the budget, of releasing the budget is much more easier when you know the budget. Yeah, so it's much more complicated to get approved, let's say, a time and material offer. Yeah, because for the manager approving that, it's quite hard. He doesn't know what will be the price at the end. Um, exactly. And then, so for the types of services that you can imagine, it's for example a training. Training is quite clear, yeah. So I mean, I want to attend this course. It's 5 days. It's in Germany. It's on this topic, yeah. So you know everything, and then basically, so you pay the price, yeah. So I don't know, 5,000 euro for the course. For the service provider, for Siemens, for example, definitely there is always a risk because each course has a defined costs, yeah, cost structure. So the rental of the room, rental of the equipment, the salary of the trainer, and let's say some payments for their, I don't know, IT platform, whatever. And then basically if, and we always count with the 6 participants per course, yeah? So that's the business model. So if we get only 2 participants per course, yeah, then we are in a very low margin or maybe at zero, let's say, covering our costs. But it can be that we have 8 participants per course, and then we are, let's say, covering this gap. So that's how this lump sum works. You always have a portion of risk there, but if you have a continuous service operations there or like some repeating services during the year, normally after 1 or 2 years of experience, you are able, let's say, to balance these costs with some risk portion, and then everything is good. Same as for the retrofits and modernization services. Normally the risk there is much higher, and normally the risk there is calculated in the price. Yeah. So when a customer is asking you to renew some machine, he wants to know the price for this renewal. Yeah. And then so you send a technical specialist who makes an assumption. Yeah. So who calculates amount of hours he would need to do that, and there he prepares the specification of material what would be needed. There is always a place for the human error, let's say, in this interaction. So there is always possible that let's say some part was missed, let's say in the final calculation. So you have to cover it by this risk portion. Yeah. So you already signed the contract with the customer, so customer will not pay you more for that. And what is interesting, their lump sum offers or lump sum business model can be used for the repairs as well. And it works in the following way. I mean, you can ask me how can be. Yeah? I mean, you cannot say, let's say, the price of the repair before doing the diagnostics. Yeah, but I can say you that you can. Yeah, and it works basically on the simple statistical science. Yeah, so if you have like through 2-3 years of the repair statistics, so you know approximately. Yeah, so you know statistically which module is most often broken in the part. Yeah, so then you are defining your price. Yeah, basically looking, yeah, so basically directing it to this statistical model and saying that an average price for the repair of this unit is so much. And afterwards, so for the some repairs, you will be in minus, yeah, because another module has been broken and it costs much more to repair that. But for some repairs, you will be with the more you will get out with a more margin. And at the end, the important is that at the end of the year, it balances itself, and then you're good on the way. Let's say. So it's much more attractive for the customer. He doesn't need to wait for the diagnostics. He gets the price right away. He can submit the budget. He can get it, and he can. It's yeah. Let's say the whole interaction, the whole sales process is much easier and less time consuming. Let us have a look at some new business models. Yeah, so recently coming to the market, and most of them, I must admit, are like IT or internet driven. Yeah, so with the whole this hype, with a lot of software being sold, a lot of IT services being used, yeah, a lot of the different business models around, we are getting these new ideas also in a classical B2B industrial business, how to build a model, how to build a business model in a new way, and let's say enable new customers to use your service, or even enable new revenue streams for it. And that's one of the new types of business models is the subscription. Yeah, and subscription basically means that you have a contract and you're paying regularly, yeah, on a regular basis, and that's a dream of any service manager, that you have a amount of contracts, yeah, so big amount of contracts of the customers who are paying you regularly, yeah. So the service business is here basically to generate the regular cash flow, yeah, and that can be some downsides in the product business, yeah, so there can be some problems on the market, whatever. Service business is there always, let's say, to balance it by the means of the regular cash flow, by this regular repeating service contracts. And there can be different models, let's say, inside this subscription. So that can be a way that you're paying like a flat rate. Yeah, so you're paying monthly or quarterly the same amount of money, and for that you are getting the same service. Yeah, or that can be also that it's like kind of prepaid service. So you're getting a service only once a year, but you're paying monthly. Yeah, and for you as for customer is important, let's say, um, to get your cash flow, yeah, how to say, so to avoid the peaks in your cash flow, yeah, so that not to make it in a way that you're paying a lot once a year, but you're paying the same amount every month, yeah, and then it's much more plannable. It's much better for their financial health, let's say, of their company. Normally, in a subscription a model, so the contracts can be terminated by customer or by provider, yeah, with some fees, yeah, maybe, or some with some fines, but that can be terminated, yeah, and the subscription models, they make it much easier, as I mentioned, for customer to plan the budget, to plan the money. And I think I mentioned about this type. So the flat rate is one of them. Tiers is the second one. Is basically when you are offering like a packages. So you want to get there some training service from Siemens, and then there is a package for the maintenance guys. There is a package for maintenance and quality guys, and the package for maintenance and programmers and quality. Let's say so. Three packages, three tiers, and then you decide: do I want to be then advanced or intermediate or basic, whatever. And there is a subscription model also per usage. And the best example is, I don't know, maybe your cell phone contract. Yeah, so mobile contract. So depending on how much internet after some threshold you're using, so much you will pay. Yeah, so you get 2 GB, let's say, included in your flat rate, and then on top of that, you're paying per usage. That can be same good here in a subscription service. And you see, so where Siemens is using the subscription is clearly this the support or consulting services. We have also so-called like a Prime membership into our support portal. Yeah, so and if you get it, if you buy it, so it's I think like around 100 euro per month or something like that, or per year. Yeah, and then it's a flat rate, and you get an access to all their content for the Prime users, and there are also tiers there. Yeah, so you can select the different types of these Prime memberships. Then for the training services, that can be also a subscription model, especially for the online trainings. So we have now, in this Corona time, also developed let's say a big service offering. So we're a self-learning portal. Citroen Access is the name, and that works in a subscription base. Yeah, so you're buying the access, and then there is some flat rate. Yeah, so you're paying to use the content, the free content there on the platform, and if you want some additional trainings, yeah, so you can book them on top, and then you will be charged on the subscription way. And definitely the digital services, yeah. So the digital services that cannot work in another way as a subscription, because I mean data services is always a loan process, yeah. So you cannot offer analysis, data analytics only for 1 month. It makes no sense, yeah. So it must be always not less than, let's say, 3 years contracts, yeah. And then the customer is paying some monthly fee, let's say, to get the report about the status of his machines based on the data he provided, yeah. And that can be upgraded to some deeper analysis, or it can be downgraded in order to get only the basic parameters, let's say. So the everything connected with the data is like a continuous business models there. So that's always a running business models. What makes it definitely very much interesting in on a B2B market. And another new business model is the freemium. Yeah, so freemium is basically a word consisting of two words. Yeah, so it's a free and premium. Yeah, and we are talking here that the your service offering is divided into two parts. There is one part what is available for everyone. Yeah, it's yeah, so that's so-called the free services. So everyone who registers on your platform or whatever gets that. Yeah, and there is a premium functionality what is available only for those ones who are paying. And then, so what is the tricky thing is basically how to balance, yeah. So how to make the user switch from the free part to the premium, from the free service to the premium service, and make them, let's say, interested to buy the premium services. So not to offer too much for free, because then the majority will stay in this free domain, yeah, but to balance it somehow in a way. And that's, for example, Siemens is using that for this support service as well, as I mentioned. So for free, you can register the platform, you can download all the manuals. You have also some technical forum for free, and if you want to use more functionality, let's say their hotline without waiting, or let's say that your requests will be prioritized always to the top, then basically you need to buy some premium services, and then you will get it. There is actually very big list of different disruptive new business models in a B2B. I brought only several examples here, but I think it makes sense also to talk about them. For example, let me say a couple of words about this pay-as-you-go business model. Yeah? So the first one. So the idea is that's coming from Rolls-Royce, and the idea is that the service provider or the product manufacturer is sharing the risks, let's say, with the user. Yeah? So basically, if the user is not using the machine, if your user bought the machine but does not use it, yeah, then he does not pay for it. So that's basically the way how Rolls-Royce charges for the turbines, yeah, on the aircrafts. They have this business model that basically you are paying only for the time when your aircraft is flying. So if you have the situation like now, aircrafts are on the ground, then you are not paying because the turbine is not running. So with this model, basically the equipment manufacturer or at the same time service provider, Rolls-Royce is servicing their own platforms clearly themselves, they share this risk with the customer. Um, yeah. Another one, interesting one, is the infrastructure as a service, or it can be platform as a service, so EaaS or PaaS, platform as a service. But in general, sometimes you can see it like XaaS, so something as a service, SaaS, software as a service. That's all these topics when you provide, let's say, your property, yeah, so I know a software, a platform, an infrastructure to the customer, yeah, and customer uses it, yeah, and gets some benefit out of it, but he does not own that. Yeah? Um, and yeah, so their Amazon Web Services is the most famous one, I think, for their they are doing, I think, all the levels, so infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and the software as a service. Basically, they have their a lot of computing power, yeah, so for the cloud computing servers, and then you can buy it, yeah, and you can buy it for the different purposes, yeah, so you can buy it and put your own platform on top, so that will be then infrastructure as a service for you, yeah, so that you're buying the server capacity and your own software is running there. You can buy it in a form of platform as a service. So that means that Amazon already has some IoT platform running on the cloud computers, and you're buying it and playing your own applications there. Or you can buy a software as a service. So that means that you are getting an infrastructure from Amazon, platform from Amazon, and the software, so applications themselves also from Amazon. It's also a very successful business model how Amazon has developed. And I like one more to share is this razor blade. I think it's kind of interesting story as well. So that's the way basically how you earn money on the spare parts. Yeah, so it's like the Procter& and Gamble you can see here on the slides. So with the Gillette, yeah, but it can be also Nespresso coffee machines. Yeah, so when you get the coffee machine almost for free, and the company is making money on the cartridges, yeah, so on the coffee capsules, yeah, or in a Gillette case, so with the razors, yeah, so you're getting the shaver almost for free, but the thing where you have to pay money regularly is the blades, yeah, so the razor blades. And yeah, for Siemens, it does not work that well, yeah, so this razor blade story, because we want to make money on the product side as well. But there are customers in a B2B a lot, like Hewlett Packard, for example, who is selling putting the printers, let's say, or Ricoh. They're also the same idea. So they're bringing the printers to you. Yeah, so you don't need to pay for printers. You're paying for each printed page. Yeah, so that's a pay as you go, or you're paying for the cartridges. That's a razor blade story. When you have a, let's say, understanding of their Siemens service portfolio and their business models behind it, so basically the way how Siemens is earning money with these services, I would like to show you one very good, very structured tool, how you would be able to describe any kind of a business model. And with this tool, I just yeah, can advise you to get familiar with that after the episode, maybe, yeah, because when if you will come sometime to the idea to open your own business, yeah, you will be working with a business model canvas. Business model canvas is the name of the tool. Or if you're working in any company and there will be an idea, let's say, to launch a new service, a new product, whatever, the most structured and the most let's say yeah, so also the classical way to put the business model on paper is the business model canvas. Yeah. So let us have a look at the tool. So it looks like that. Yeah. So that's simply one page. Yeah. Quite simple with the 9 fields. Yeah. What shall be filled. Yeah. In with an information. And I think so. Here is on the next slide. I show it better. So basically, there are like 4 main parts in the business model canvas. So the first most important one is the value proposition. So what are you selling? What your business is about? Yeah. So what will be the service? What will be the product? How this product will? Why someone will buy it? Yeah. So how what kind of value? What kind of value will this product bring to the customer? Then who? Yeah, so who is basically who are your customers, for whom you will sell this product, who shall be approached. Yeah, so that's the 3 fields around that. So how is the your back office? Yeah, so how will you provide this service? How will you manufacture the product? What are their, let's say, support functions? What are the partners? What are the resources there? That's this part. And the how much. So how much is basically about the money. Yeah. So how much do you plan to spend? How much do you plan to earn? Yeah. And how you want to earn? Will it be the subscription? Will it be lump sum? Will it be some contracts or some buyings or whatever? Yeah. So that's this one about the how much. And yeah, let us have a closer look at the fields. So as you remember, as I mentioned, so what is this one? Value proposition, and I like the side here. So think of the value proposition as a contract between the customer and your company, where the customer hires your company to solve a problem. Yeah, so basically the value proposition must be a clearly determined, a clearly defined let's say value. Yeah, so what your service or product is bringing to the customer, why you, yeah, so why customer will go for it, what will be the problem solved on the customer side with your product. Looking on the right side, so answering the question who are the customers, you can see here the 3 fields. Yeah, the biggest one, so the most important one is the customer segments. Yeah, so most important among these 3, I mean, so that's the customer segments, and that's normally the outcome of their segmentation, targeting, positioning process. Yeah, so where you're basically grouping your customers. and you're saying that my customers are, I don't know, so they're that can be a geographical grouping. So they're the population of Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. Let's say speak in German, because my service will be only in German. Yeah, so they're normally like younger than 40 years old, because it's oriented for some like young technology-driven people. They live in a big city, yeah, so not in a village. So that's the characteristic how you describe your target group. The customer relationships, yeah, so that's the you describe the way how you will interact with your customers. So will you have a direct sales? Will you have some advertisement on a web page? Will you have some social media marketing, yeah, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, yeah? So what is this customer relationships? Will you have a page on the Facebook answering the questions? Will there be some hotline talking to the customer? So it's just an email or phone or whatever. So that's all the topics to be considered. And then channels is basically how to get the attention of your customers. So I mentioned already the social media marketing. Yeah, so will you use it only for the feedback, but normally you're using it for both, yeah, so using it for attracting the new customers, and you're using it for the interaction with the existing customers, yeah? So that's the right corner. Left corner is how, yeah, so what do you need in order to perform this service? And then now we are talking about the partners. So normally no business is running alone, yeah? So you always will need some suppliers. You always have to buy some raw material, let's say, for the manufacturing. You have to buy the machines. You have to buy maybe some services or whatever, yeah? And that's the key partners, yeah? So that's the most important portion also here. The key resources is also more about, let's say, what resources you need to own, what kind of people, what profile, what kind of machines, what your team shall look like. And key activities is their, let's say, the focus activities what your team must work on, yeah? And that can be that at the beginning you say so the customer retention, yeah, so you quite clear that you would be able to attract a lot of customers but they shall stay, yeah, because we are talking about the continuing services, about some regular subscription fees and so on. Or that can be customer satisfaction is the key activity, yeah? Because you want again make sure that this retention takes place and the customers who bought once they're buying a second time and so on. So that's the key activities. And how much, yeah, is the button part of the model. So you can see here what is the cost part of the balance sheet. Yeah, so basically where do you need to spend money and where do you plan that the money will come from? Yeah, so that's the contracts, that's the online channel purchase, it's offline channel subscriptions, whatever. So you can see that in this, yeah, from one point of view, nine, like simple, from one point of view, simple fields, 9 fields, you can describe almost any business model. Yeah, and if you do it in the right manner, yeah, so properly thinking about each of them, you can use it also as an argument for your investor pitch or whatever here, because it already shows that you have thought about the idea. I put here some advantages, let's say, of the business model canvas of this tool. So as I mentioned, the first one, I mean, the definition of the term business model, yeah, can be understood by everyone in a different way. And if you bring this tool on the table, if you put it in the table field, then it's so clear, yes, that you have thought about the business model, and that makes it very much concrete. What do you mean under business model? Then you can also clearly see the interdependencies between the different fields. Yeah. So if we are talking about the customer relationships and the customers, yeah. So the customer segments, then they must be clear that these customer segments they're using these channels, let's say. Yeah. So that's why we want to attract them via these channels. So the canvas helps to eliminate the logical let's say misunderstandings or when misalignments. The good one is also when you're working with a team, then you can use them as sticky notes. Yeah, so you're going one topic after another, one after another, and everyone is putting his ideas, and then you try to summarize it together. So that brings the whole team on the same page. Yeah, so everyone has one business idea in front of him and understands what he or she is or they are speaking about. And then one page, yeah. So definitely, so it's not a folder with a lot of pages that you have read through. If you're interested in the business, that's one page. You have a look and you know what it is about. I brought here also some examples of their, let's say, their innovative services, of the new services. So it's not all the fields are filled in here, but it's also okay. So let us have a look at the PaaS, yeah, so the platform as a service business model. And then basically we are saying that the value proposition, yeah, so value proposition model is the most important one. What kind of problem are we solving with the PaaS? Yeah? So we are solving the issue of the scalable IT resources on demand. So basically, if the customer is not sure about the demand and then IT resources in future, yeah, so we can bring him this assurance. We are saying him that you start buying small, and if you need more, if your business is growing, you do not need to think about extending the hardware, extending, putting the new servers, putting the new rooms for computer hardware, for IT hardware, and so on. You are using our infrastructure, so that's very scalable. That's a huge advantage. Yeah? So that can be a big issue, let's say, in the customer thinking. And the easy access to processing power. So that's in the same direction. Yeah. So if I just have one task and I have to calculate it, yeah. So I do not want to buy all these powerful computers, all these powerful servers, put it, install it, maintain it in order to do only once. Yeah. So I buy their computing power, so the processing power from the platform as a service provider like Amazon Web Services, or like Intel is providing that as well, yeah, or Microsoft with Azure and so on. And then I let my software run there using a lot of power from Amazon Web Services. I'm paying once, so I get results and I move forward. So perfect. So that's let's say these customer stories, that the user stories, the value proposition of the service, what kind of problem this service will solve. Um, Delivery module, let us have a look on this how. Yeah. So that's basically we're saying that we will need if we want to be a platform as a service, we need to have an infrastructure. We have a lot of infrastructure costs, yeah, and we need to build that up in order to offer it to the customers. And the best way would be to have an automated ordering and a billing process, yeah, so online. So I don't want to calculate how much each customer spent time or megabytes or whatever using my infrastructure. I want it to be automated. Yeah, and that's the same way with the provisioning of this infrastructure. If the customer needs more, I want to make sure that I can switch on additional power, let's say from another country, from another part of the world or whatever, but I can provide this infrastructure to the customer to satisfy his demand. Who are their customers? Yeah, so basically we are saying that, okay, so our neighboring department, the web platform, all the customers of this web platform can use our platform as a service, and the customers also can register through the self-service on the web page, let's say, and then they can use our platform, and then they will be billed, invoiced. The services will be invoiced based on the consumption and real consumption. And the cost module, yeah, so clearly we have all the huge infrastructure costs, so these assets, yeah, so we have to build the server rooms, yeah, or buildings, let's say where all the computers are running. Data centers, yeah, so the right name. So we have to buy this IT infrastructure, so not only build the data centers, but also buy the content of that. And we definitely must have the, let's say, programmers and the hotlines, so the maintenance services who could help our customers to operate, yeah, and to use this platform as a service. And yeah, financial model is the own capital there. So we earned money somewhere else, so that's why we can invest now in such kind of industry, yeah, so in such kind of service offering and do it, yeah, so for our customers. And another example, what I like is this one with a razor blade. Basically, we are saying, yeah, so what is their value proposition for their customers? So that's a bait product. That means that the, let's say the main product is quite affordable, yeah, and there, so if the customer likes it, he will use it during the time, yeah. So he will use it not once, yeah, if he likes it, but further. So that's a hook product, yeah. So we are selling basically this cheap razor, so shaver itself as a hook product, and the blades is the thing what where we are earning money. Um, Yeah, so I mean, what is so let us start with the customers. So there's several customer segments clear. So depending on yeah, so what kind of products we are talking about. If it's coffee capsules, then it's coffee lovers. If it's shavers, that's men or women, or if it's, I don't know, the printing cartridges, then it's offices or maybe private households as well. So that can be any customer segments or different customer segments. And the essential for us is that we lock in the customers. Yeah? So if the customer buys our product, we must make money within spare parts. So basically, every customer who bought the product and didn't buy the spare part is a lose for us, yeah, because most probably we'll lose money with this purchase. So we need a production for the products, we need a service, we need also brand and clearly the technology, let's say, yeah, so because it's let's say a service business in terms of spare parts, but it's a product-oriented service business, let's say like that. Um, yeah, and then the so cost module is basically that we have the production and we have to balance somehow our balance sheet somehow in a way that the manufacturing costs for the product are balanced with the revenues derived from the spare part sales. Yeah, so most probably the spare parts can be manufactured in a lower price, with the lower costs, yeah, but they're sold with much higher margin. Yeah, so then you are selling the main product with a zero margin or low margin. You are selling with a high marginal spare parts. So that's the way how you balance the whole equation. And yeah, so that's the revenue model as well, that you don't earn anything, a cheap bait product, so you not anything with the core product, but you earn on the recurring purchases of the hook products. That was just, yeah, like a couple of examples how the business model canvas can be filled in